was a day like any other, or so I thought. My wife, Anna, had left early for work, claiming she had an important meeting with her boss. I didn't think much of it. She had been taking on more responsibilities lately, trying to climb the corporate ladder. As for me, I was at home, working remotely, sipping my coffee while answering emails. Around midday, my phone buzzed. It was a message from one of Anna's colleagues, a woman I barely knew but who had always been polite at company events. "I'm sorry to tell you this, but I thought you should know. Anna's been seeing Mr. Harris. They're together right now in the conference room." The words hit me like a freight train. I read the message over and over, hoping I had misunderstood. But no matter how many times I reread it, the implication was clear. I felt a burning anger rise in my chest. My hands trembled as I grabbed my keys and stormed out the door. The 20-minute drive to her office felt like an eternity, my mind racing with questions, doubts, and worst-case scenarios. When I arrived, I didn't bother checking in at the front desk. I knew exactly where her meeting was being held. My footsteps echoed down the hallway as I approached the conference room, my heart pounding with a mix of rage and adrenaline. The moment I opened the door, time seemed to freeze. There she was, my wife, sitting too close to her boss, Mr. Harris. Their casual laughter died instantly when they saw me. Anna's face turned pale, and her eyes widened in terror. But it was Mr. Harris who made the mistake of standing up, walking over to me with a smile, and saying, "Are you her friend?" These 4 words echoed in my head, fueling the fire already raging inside me. I clenched my fists, my vision narrowing, as Mr. Harris extended his hand like a fool, completely unaware of the storm he had walked into. "No, you idiot," I growled, grabbing his wrist and twisting it so hard he winced in pain. "I'm her husband. You must be the bastard who thought it was fine to get a married woman pregnant." Anna let out a gasp, her hands flying to her mouth as she stood frozen by the table. Mr. Harris tried to pull away, but I tightened my grip, shoving him back into his chair. His smug smile disappeared in an instant, replaced with fear. "You think you can just ruin someone's family and walk away with a smile?" I barked, my voice echoing through the room. Without giving him a chance to answer, I landed a punch square on his jaw. The satisfying crunch of his teeth snapping under the impact made my knuckles sting, but I didn't care. He slumped back, clutching his mouth, blood trickling through his fingers. "Stop! Please, stop!" Anna's voice trembled as she rushed toward me, tears streaming down her face. I turned to her, my fury unrelenting. "Stop? Now you want me to stop? Where was this concern when you were sneaking around with him? Where was it when you decided to destroy everything we built together?" She tried to reach for me, but I stepped back, pulling off my wedding ring and throwing it at her feet. "You're not my wife anymore. You lost that privilege the moment you betrayed me." Her sobs filled the room as I looked at her one last time, my heart breaking under the weight of her betrayal. I walked out, leaving her and her pathetic excuse of a lover behind. But as I made my way to the elevator, I couldn't help but think about what she had told me the previous week, how she was pregnant, and how she wanted us to adopt the child because it wasn't mine. As I drove away from her office, the silence in the car was deafening. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. I couldn't stop the memories from flooding my mind. Our wedding day, her vows, the quiet nights we spent dreaming about our future. All of it felt like a cruel joke now. Her words from last week echoed in my head, cutting deeper than any wound ever could. "I know this is hard to hear, but I'm pregnant. And it's not yours. But we can move past this. We can raise this baby together, as a family." A family? How dare she use that word after what she had done? The audacity to stand there, tears streaming down her face, and ask me to adopt the child of her affair, her lover's child. I slammed my fist against the steering wheel, the pain barely registering over the ache in my chest. By the time I reached the house, I was shaking. Walking inside, I was greeted by the familiar scent of home, the faint aroma of her favorite lavender candles, the warm glow of the living room lamp she always left on for me. For a brief moment, it felt like nothing had changed. But then I saw her picture on the mantel, her smiling face staring back at me, and the reality hit me like a freight train. This wasn't my home anymore. I sat down on the couch, my head in my hands, as the tears I had been holding back finally escaped. I wasn't just mourning her betrayal. I was mourning the loss of the life we had built, the future I thought we would share. The thought of her asking me to raise that child tore me apart. How could she expect me to look into that baby's eyes every day and not see the betrayal staring back at me? For years, I had given her my trust, my love, my everything, and she had thrown it away for a fleeting affair with her boss. Did she ever truly love me? Or was it all a lie? I picked up my phone and stared at the screen, my vision blurred with tears. My best friend James had always told me, if someone betrays you once, it's on them. If they betray you twice, it's on you. His words felt like a lifeline in this moment of despair. I dialed his number, my voice breaking as I said, "James, I need help. I can't do this alone." James arrived within an hour, his face a mix of concern and quiet anger as he stepped through the door. He had always been the kind of friend who didn't need details to understand the gravity of a situation. One look at me, and he knew this was serious. "She cheated, didn't she?" he asked, his voice low but steady. I nodded, my throat tightening. "It's worse than that. She's pregnant, and it's not mine. She wants me to adopt her affair baby, James. She wants me to pretend everything's fine." James let out a long breath, shaking his head. "Man, I'm so sorry. But you can't let her manipulate you like this. You deserve better than this mess." Those words hit me harder than I expected. For so long, I had been trying to fix what was broken, thinking I could salvage something from the wreckage of our marriage. But James was right. There was nothing left to save. "I'm filing for divorce," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "She made her choices, and now I have to make mine." James nodded. "Good. But don't let her play the victim when you do. You need to protect yourself, legally and emotionally." With his help, I began drafting the necessary steps. I called a lawyer the next morning, explaining everything: her affair, the pregnancy, and her audacious request for me to raise the child. The lawyer, a sharp woman named Clara, listened patiently before saying, "You're doing the right thing by taking action now. But be prepared. This won't be easy. She might try to guilt you into staying or even use the child as leverage." Her words stung, but I knew they were true. Anna had always been persuasive, her tears and apologies capable of softening even the hardest of hearts. But not this time. This time, I couldn't afford to falter. That evening, Anna came home, her face streaked with mascara, her eyes swollen from crying. "We need to talk," she said, her voice trembling. I stood firm, crossing my arms. "There's nothing left to talk about, Anna. I've already spoken to a lawyer. This marriage is over." She gasped, her hand flying to her chest. "Please don't do this. We can work through this. I made a mistake, but I still love you." Her words felt hollow, like a song played too many times to hold any meaning. "You don't love me, Anna," I said, my voice cold. "You loved the thrill of the affair, the lies, the secrecy, but you didn't love me, not enough to stay loyal. And now, you have to face the consequences." Tears poured down her face as she fell to her knees. "I'm sorry. I'll do anything to fix this. Please don't leave me." For the first time in weeks, I felt a strange sense of peace. "I already left, Anna. The moment you decided to betray me, you made that choice for both of us." I turned and walked away, her sobs echoing behind me. It hurt, more than I could put into words, but I knew it was the only way forward. The divorce was finalized a few months later, and Anna's pleas faded into the past. I had cut ties with her, filed the papers, and watched as she tried, and failed, to manipulate the situation. She attempted to paint me as the villain, the man who gave up on his family, but the truth was too painful for her to hide. I knew she had moved on too. She and Mr. Harris were now a couple, raising the child she wanted me to adopt. The thought of her in his arms, her hand resting on his stomach as she carried his baby, made me sick. But that wasn't my burden to carry anymore. I spent the next year focused on rebuilding my life. I moved into a smaller apartment, closer to work. It was a fresh start, one that I wasn't sure I was ready for, but it was all I had. I made new friends, reconnected with old ones, and even started dating again, though I kept my guard up. But no matter how much I tried to push forward, there were moments when the past would creep up on me. I remember one night, months after the divorce was finalized, I ran into Anna at a coffee shop. She was sitting with Mr. Harris, their child in her arms, a picture of the life she had chosen. Her eyes met mine for just a moment, and the guilt in her expression was undeniable. "Hey," she said, her voice tentative. I I didn't expect to see you here." I took a deep breath, forcing a calm expression. "It's a free world, Anna. I'm not hiding from you." She looked down at the child, her fingers tightening around the baby's blanket. "I just wanted to apologize again, for everything. I know I hurt you." I stared at her for a moment, taking in the scene before me. This was the life she had chosen, the life she wanted, the life she fought for. And I realized, in that instant, that I had made the right choice. I had walked away, despite the pain, despite the betrayal. "You don't need to apologize anymore," I said, my voice quiet but firm. "We both know what happened, and I don't need to hear it again. I've moved on, Anna. I've accepted it." Her eyes welled with tears, but I didn't flinch. "I'll always care about you," she whispered. I shook my head, my chest heavy but resolute. "I can't. I won't. Not after everything. You made your choices, and so did I." I turned and walked away, leaving her and the life she had chosen behind. It was the final step in my journey, letting go. Months passed since that encounter with Anna at the coffee shop. Life started feeling more normal, though there were still moments of reflection. Moments when I would think about what could have been. Could we have worked things out? Could we have rebuilt the trust we had shattered? But every time those thoughts entered my mind, I remembered the image of Anna in Mr. Harris's arms, her face glowing with the happiness I had once thought was mine. And just like that, any lingering doubt would fade away. I had made the right decision, but the real test came a few weeks after the divorce was final. Anna reached out again, this time through email, a short and blunt message that chilled me to the bone. "I'm pregnant again, and I need you to sign the birth certificate as the father. Mr. Harris and I are having problems, and I don't want our child to grow up without a father figure." My hands shook as I read her words. She wanted me to step in as the father for a child that wasn't mine, a child born out of her affair. The audacity, the manipulation. It was overwhelming. I stared at the screen for what felt like hours, every part of me screaming to respond, to lash out, to demand an explanation. But then, something shifted inside me. I had given Anna everything, my heart, my trust, my future, and she had thrown it away. She had made her choice, and it was time for me to make mine. I took a deep breath and typed out my response. "Anna, I'm sorry, but I cannot be the man you want me to be. I won't be part of this. I've moved on with my life, and I hope you do the same. I will not be signing anything." And that was it. The final tie severed. I leaned back in my chair, feeling an overwhelming sense of freedom. The weight that had burdened me for so long had finally been lifted. No more manipulation, no more guilt, no more false hopes of reconciliation. It was over. The road ahead wasn't going to be easy, but for the first time in a long while, I felt at peace. I had chosen myself. I had chosen to walk away from the destruction she had brought into our lives, and I was ready to move forward, free from the past. As I looked out of my apartment window, I thought about what the future held. There was a world full of possibilities waiting for me, and this time, I wasn't going to let anyone or anything hold me back. Anna and I would never be the same, but I wasn't the man I used to be either. I was stronger. I was free. And most importantly, I was no longer a prisoner of her lies. Infidelity isn't just a betrayal of trust, it's a betrayal of the future we envision with someone. When faced with such pain, it's important to recognize that we cannot change others' choices, only how we respond to them. The protagonist could have been swayed by Anna's manipulative apologies and requests, but he chose to prioritize his mental and emotional well-being. Sometimes the hardest thing is to walk away, but it's often the best choice for our peace. True freedom comes when we release the past and stop letting it control our future. While the pain of betrayal is real and deep, we must understand that holding on to it keeps us in the past. Moving forward, even in small steps, is the only way to reclaim our lives. The protagonist's decision to file for divorce and refuse to be manipulated shows that knowing your value is essential. We deserve honesty, trust, and love. And if someone is unwilling to offer that, it's time to walk away and make space for better things. Thank you for watching, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please do so and press the notification bell. This way, you'll stay updated with more shocking real-life stories.